Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson with the AHSA Radio Network. That's me. Jimmy Stein with Bama Online. That's him. And I've got a mint in my mouth. That's why it looks like I had dental work. I'll move it to this side. Maybe it won't look so bad. Um, we don't have our normal lead in. We don't have our normal anything because StreamYard is down worldwide. So I'm having to record this on Zoom. I've never done that before, and nobody make fun of me
It's a
because of that.
technological miracle what all of y'all are witnessing right now.
This is crazy. I got to get this man out. I really should have just started the recording after I dumped the men out and went to heck with it. So Jimmy,
Mhm.
this week has been sort of, well, first of all, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We can still do that. Um, but this week has been sort of stinky bodinky. We have been left out of the playoffs. Again, for those who are confused on Twitter, and it's many of you, saying that, hey, your schedule wasn't very tough with Mercer and whatever. We're talking about for the future, y'all. And so that's number one. We said, Jimmy and I both said, we don't think necessarily Alabama deserved to be in the playoffs. We were just hoping of the undeserving teams, they thought they could put us in there. That's what we were hoping. Didn't work out. So be it. Not upset. Beat Oklahoma and you're in, beat Vanderbilt and you're in, beat Tennessee. Shoot, the irony is we probably had a better shot to beat Tennessee than those other two teams. Um,
I don't
but
know.
then,
I hate to replay stuff like this in my mind, but considering all we needed was one win over those three losses, and if I could change one play that might change the outcome, it might be this simple. What if we didn't have two number twos on the field at the same time in the Vanderbilt game? That
true,
penalty that extended a Vanderbilt touchdown drive.
true.
If that didn't happen, maybe you beat Vanderbilt.
It is funny how just little things like that, when you look back over the years, like that changed everything. What about if Ryan Williams' touchdown isn't erroneously canceled out in the Oklahoma game? Um, at least it looks, even if it finishes 24-10, that looks a lot better than 24-3.
It does. And I talked to one national media guy who over again wanted to emphasize, in terms of what he felt, is that Alabama's loss to Oklahoma was disqualifying. And he didn't mean just losing to Oklahoma. He meant it's not that they lost, it's how they lost.
Yeah,
And
which is
I'm
fair.
thinking, and I'm thinking like, yeah, but if Ryan Williams' touchdown counts and it's 24-10 and Alabama built some momentum, I'm not saying they come back and win, but what if Oklahoma only won 24-17? Maybe that's enough. And that touchdown was taken away from Alabama. Now, South Carolina somewhere on Locked On Gamecocks, and I'm not sure what the name of their show is, but I'm sure it's
I
something
think it's
like
locked on
that.
Gamecocks.
Locked On Gamecocks, they're saying if the officials hadn't robbed us in the LSU game, we're in. And they're correct. They're
They're right.
correct. If they would be in too. So wow. So SEC officials, they've probably screwed up the playoff more than the committee did.
I don't like this new setup on this Zoom, by the way. I like our background. It makes us look moderately professional.
I
Um,
feel like we broke into someone's house and did the show.
I do too. And I feel like, see, I'm having to, for whatever reason, I keep looking at myself, I guess. And so my eyes look like they're always looking over here.
Not everybody watches it on video though. So
That is
we're
true.
all the audio people could care less. They're like, this is the same crappy show we hear every day.
So let's go back to AJ Dybansta. He picks BYU more like BY me, right? Or BUY, because
They got
apparently
some
his
story.
NIL package was significant. And look, I'm not mad. Please don't
I'm
think
not
I'm
mad.
mad. I'm not
I'm not
mad at
mad either.
BYU. If BYU wants to throw a gazillion dollars at him to try and get back on the basketball map, go for it. I mean, that's the new age we live in. And if you're a Bama fan and you're like, why is he choosing BYU? Stephen A. Smith was like, why are you choosing BYU? I think most people are, but he's probably like,
Yeah.
and again, I'm not mad about it. It's
Yeah, y'all pay
okay.
us. Y'all pay us 4 million. You're listening to Locked On Cougars tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
or at least
By
for
the
two
way,
minutes to
the
you.
Locked On Cougars guy is on our Locked On Bama Teams chat thing, and he's super excited and wishes
I bet.
StreamYard wasn't down so that he could do his podcast. And I don't blame him Go for it, man. I think it's wonderful. Hey, look, I'll tell you something. I'll take it a step further. I love the way basketball can operate with schedules. I hope Alabama and BYU play each other next year. I think that'd be super
Oh, that'll
cool.
be
I'd
fun.
love to play the number one prospect in the country.
Who matches up? Who would defend him? I guess probably Darion Reed, huh?
I mean, assuming he doesn't go pro, which I don't think he will, but assuming he didn't go pro or transfer.
Yeah,
He's,
yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is Reed would match up pretty well with him. I mean, as much as anyone can match up with Dybantsa because the kid is a
he's a
legitimate
freak
freak.
as a
But
weed.
Reed is an excellent defender that defends the small forward position really well.
Another thing I don't like about this Zoom thing, I don't know how long we've been talking, so I don't know when to take my break.
Oh, we will keep the clock on the field.
That's good. I think we'll do that.
I think we've been about 6 minutes.
Okay, but so Tim Watts on Bama Online, um, he came out and said, "Look, we've been, for the last 24 hours, it's sort of been hit, sort of up and down. Will he go to Bama? Will he not? BYU apparently up their financial game, and Alabama wasn't going to get into necessarily a bidding war. And I'm not trying to say that in a negative connotation. I don't want anybody to think that. But I think Alabama was like, we have a fair package, sort of like with Ty Haywood. We have a fair package. We think this is what we can do, and we're not going to overspend, even if it's for AJ Dybansta. Now, we may be overspending relative to what we normally spend for something
Right.
like this, but a guy to look out for is Braden Burries, who is a top 12 player in the country, a combo guard, very good player. I would love for Alabama to get him, but Alabama's already got the 10th ranked class in the country. So, I mean, it's not like oh my God, we missed on him. We got nothing coming next year. And that's not the case. Bama basketball is going to be fine.
Mhm.
And my Lord, can we please beat our arch rival Creighton on Saturday because we need some good news somewhere.
Yeah, they have our number. I'm glad Dybantsa didn't commit to Creighton. It would have been a rough week for us Bama folks, but I think Alabama basketball has never, ever been in better shape than it is right now, even though AJ Debanski is going someplace else. Alabama basketball is, as we record this show, is at its zenith in its history right now, and with a bright future. Not just, hey, this is our one shot and done deal. No, Alabama's gonna be really good next year too. And basically, I've kind of cracked the code and figured out Alabama's gonna be really good as long as Nate Oates is the basketball coach. So he's the AJ Debansta we need to sign and keep is Nate Oates. Now things are going great. Great matchup with Creighton this week. Creighton, I believe, is beaten. Didn't they beat Kansas? Maybe they beat somebody really good. Kansas, I think.
Who did?
Didn't Creighton beat Kansas?
Yeah, Creighton beat Kansas like the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Missouri beat them too.
Yeah. So Creighton is obviously a great team and kind of an arch rival of Alabama's. But hey, that's fun. We need to play a big sporting event and win it. And I think that would be a versus of sorts for Alabama fans. And things are going great. Things are going fine in football too. By the way, we'll talk about this in just a minute. I am fired up about the three transfer portal visitors this week. All
And we're going to
three
talk about them.
hugely impactful.
We're going to talk about them when we come back. And because I don't have my little thing that does the locked on thing, we're going to pause for a second. And that way I'll know when to do the break on the audio stuff. So I know this is the worst segue ever, but we're pausing starting now. Now I want to tell you all about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get 150 smacks in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit fanduel.com to join today. You'll get started with 150 smacks and bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
NFL.
Okay, so we're going to talk about some transfer portal stuff now because the portal is still portaling. And Alabama's got some visitors coming in this weekend. Number one, Kelby Collins, who I absolutely loved when he was in high school at Gardendale. Loved him. He ended up going to Florida. I know we wanted him. We definitely
Oh
wanted
yeah.
him.
Oh, no
Um,
question.
and he was freshman All SEC uh, and in 2023. Now, I don't see where it tells us much of what he did this year.
That's because he literally kind of fell off the map. He played in 6 games, so he could not redshirt. I'm not 100% sure if his health might have been questioned. I don't believe so. I think he just kind of got squeezed out of his position. They moved him to another position. I don't think he was too happy with that in the Gators scheme. And he basically had what I would call a lost year, considering how spectacular his freshman season was. But based on what we thought of him as a prospect and where he was ranked, based on how impactful he was as a true freshman at Florida, this is an automatic take. And I think kind of the worst case scenario with Kelby Collins is you add him to the rotation. Maybe he's not a superstar. Maybe he's not your star player, but you add him as another quality body in your defensive line rotation, because that's a position, Luke, where you're going to play 6, 7, 8 guys with the first team, and you need 6, 7, or 8. Maybe he's not your number 1 guy or number 2 guy, but he'll be a quality body in that, top 6, top 8. So this is a definite add, a definite take. The fact that he's from Gardendale, the fact that he's going to get to play for Alabama, his home state school, I think only helps this situation. I think adding Kelby Collins would be a good deal for Alabama. And you've lost Hunter Osborne and Jaheim Otis. I think that's a good trade for Alabama. That's a good trade. You're trading Otis, who's a bit disgruntled and injured, but you're trading Otis and Hunter Osborne for Kelby Collins. That's a trade I would make and take.
You know, ESPN came out with like their top portal guys, top 25. They had Jaheim Otis number 3 of the guys in the portal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I'm not anti Jaheim Otis. I mean, Otis, my man. I mean, we loved him here on the podcast, but I don't think he's the third best. I mean, now obviously not everybody that's going to be in the portal is in the portal yet. If we stopped right now and nobody else got in the portal, he's not the third best portal guy.
If he was coming back, my opinion, if I'm not saying because he left, if he was coming back right now, the starters in the interior defensive line for Alabama next year would be Tim Keenan at nose guard and James Smith at defensive tackle. Otis wouldn't even, quote, start. Now, would he be in the rotation? Would he be, as I just described, Kelby Collins? Absolutely. In the rotation, playing snaps, playing quality minutes. But he wouldn't be the star defensive lineman at Alabama. He wouldn't start. It would be LT Overton at Bandit, Tim Keenan at nose guard, and James Smith at defensive tackle. That would be the starting defensive line based on what the roster looks like today, not Otis.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was
Yeah, I don't
again,
like
you
that.
know what? Otis may be getting a Bama bump post being at Bama in the portal, a
Much like
Bama portal
he's had
bump.
a career like Collins, right? Where he was a freshman all conference, a freshman all American type right out of the gate, and then had a lost sophomore season, got disgruntled and left. Really, Jaheim Otis and Kelby Collins really are having similar type careers. Now Collins is just a more athletic guy, and Otis a little bit more of a space eater. And I'll even controversially say those that were around and remember Terrence Cody at Alabama well might agree with me. If you weren't around for the Terrence Cody years, you won't get this. This might be controversial. I think Otis is a better player as a big fat guy. And I said that to be kind of funny. But I think Otis was a better player. I think Otis was a better player when he was heavier. When he lost his weight, for whatever reason, he just became another guy. I think the fact that he could play well at 350 was sort of his thing. And now that he's 310 like everyone else, which I also say funny, I think he's just another guy.
Okay. Okay,
That's
I'll tell him. Yeah, that was Jaheim Otis calling saying he's not sure if he's insulted or being complimented.
You are, hey, Jaheim, if you're listening, you are really an impressive player at 350. And I'm not sure you've been the same player since. And I find it odd but that's just kind of how I felt watching you play. Like, wow, you're just more effective. And Terrence Cody was that way. Terrence Cody was way overweight, but man, he could really play.
He could still dunk when he was super overweight.
Well, he just kind of unblockable at that size and power. He's just kind of unblockable. And I think that once if you'd slimmed Cody down to 310, I don't know that he'd been effective at all. So I think each player uniquely has their weight where they kind of play their best. And for some guys, I'll give you another good example. Will Anderson. Will, as a young player at Alabama, was sort of heavier. And then as an older player in that final year, he had lost weight to get quicker. He was, I think, a little bit better player, heavier. So anyway,
It's kind of like
maybe I'm wrong on all that, but I just
Jaheim Otis is kind of
obviously
like
feel strongly about it.
Jaheim Otis is kind of like Adele. I mean, when Adele was a little bigger, I mean, we knew she was going to belt out some hits. Now that she's a lot thinner, I mean, she looks great, but I don't know that she can sing the same.
Really?
Can she? I
I
haven't seen her sing since she got skinny.
She sings pretty good. I'm no singing talent evaluator, but I
Does
think
she
it's
have a, does she have
I
a
think it's good.
Vegas resident? Maybe Jaheim Otis can get a Vegas residency.
Well, he could sign with UNLV.
Hello.
You would think UNLV would be a big player in NIL. You would think.
I mean,
I guess they don't have alums. I just think of
well,
Vegas as just, you pull into town and there's just money everywhere.
yeah, I don't know if they would have a big, because I mean, it seems like it's a little too close to home, right? I mean,
Years ago, I
they're
don't
so much better at fixing games across the country so they can't tie it back easily.
years ago, I told a coach who was asking me about group of five jobs and what I thought about them. And this is a coach. And I was telling him in group of five, I'm like, to me, UNLV is kind of a sleeping giant because you can see why kids would want to sign there. I mean, that
Yeah.
seems like a fun place to go
No,
to
but
college compared to, I'm talking about the group of five level.
yeah,
Like
yeah, okay.
if your
I w-
choices are UNLV, uh, Texas State, and Louisiana Lafayette, I think I might choose UNLV.
I mean, yeah, I would choose there, and then I would portal out immediately after I went broke. I'd be like, I got to portal out. I have no options. I mean, I'm broke.
Well, it's
Real.
just a draw to plan there, I think. But of course I'm, 50, so maybe in
I'll tell you
18
what,
months
it's
it
crazy. I
won't
mean,
think
I
it's the
know a
same
little
way.
bit more about the inner workings of some of these residency things, and so I'm hoping Jaheim Otis gets one, and it's fantastic.
Uh,
But
let's see that show.
Taylor Hicks is a buddy of mine, and years
Okay.
ago he had a residency at Paris, and he wasn't like the main residency. He was like the third resident, like the third. There was like two, but
So he's kind of an opening act kind of thing.
no, yeah, but he didn't. He might have performed on the bigger stages there, but for the most part, he's like in one of the little bar areas kind of thing. And it was I mean, the more I found out about it, I was like, this is incredible. He had it all, but he was like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like I'm living in this casino, and he said that gets old. I mean, he was like, some of this is great. When you're here for a weekend, it's fantastic. When you're on your sixth month of it, and I think he was there 2 years, it was bananas. So, I mean, can you imagine? So, anyway,
Wow.
all right, Jimmy, we're going to take another pause and then we're going to talk about some more portal people right after we pause right now. And I think that's enough. Now we will talk about this is going to be so awkward. I'm sorry, y'all. It's not my fault, it's StreamYard's fault. But we're going to talk about Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code college. 5 generations of experience. They constantly deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code college. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code college. Minimum purchase may apply, but you're going to buy a lot, so don't even worry about that. Okay, more portal talk. And let's talk about the next two guys that are going to be here this weekend. I'm going to tell you something, Jimmy. If Alabama gets Kelby Collins and these next two guys that we're about to talk about, and we don't get anybody else in the portal, which I think we'll get more than this, but I'd be like a pig in slop. I'm telling you, I'd love it.
Those you
I'd be a
cannot regret.
350-pound man in slop. Uh,
That's pretty
but
good. You'd have your own residency in the slop.
in the slop.
In the slop, that would be your residence.
Uh,
Three,
tight end Luke Haas
Luke Haas, awesome.
and Kevin Concepcion of NC State.
Here's what's crazy about all three of these guys. I mean, this is nuts in terms of they're all in the portal for similar reasons because they all three, Collins, Luke Haas, and Kevin Concepcion, had fantastic freshman seasons. They made all, freshman all SEC or freshman all American, and they were splashy right out of the gate. All three had significant dips as sophomores. Luke Haas thought he would catch more. Haas wasn't bad. Haas wasn't bad. He didn't start every week. He barely caught more balls for more yards than he did playing less games as a freshman.
And we went after him. We went after him when he was being recruited the very first time.
Yes, correct. The Saban staff wanted to sign Haas out of high school. He was a top 5 tight end nationally. Splashy, started game one, day one, game one at Arkansas, played 5 games and was fantastic as a freshman, broke his collarbone. This past year as a sophomore, you're like, great, now hopefully we'll have Haas for the whole season. His production was just pedestrian. And so he wants a fresh start. Concepcion, same way, freshman All-American. This past year, I think he went off the top of my head from something like 900 yards receiving to 450 yards receiving. Obviously, NC State had some quarterback issues, couldn't really settle on a QB and had sort of a terrible year based on what they were expecting. But anyway, the point is, all three of these guys, Luke, fantastic as true freshmen, then had sort of disappointing sophomore seasons. That's why they're all in the portal. All would be true juniors. But I agree with Luke. We've lost 10 guys to the portal so far off last year's team. I would trade those 10 for these 3. Oh my gosh. See, the portal is not about quantity. It never is. It's about quality. It's about, okay, we lost some talent. Can we replace them with more talent, even if it's fewer guys? And that's exactly what they would be doing, trading those 10 for these 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would be just home runs, all 3 of them. I know they fell off as sophomores. I'm with you, but I do attribute that. Every time a sophomore sort of falls off a little bit, I always think sophomore slump. I mean, that's kind of what everybody goes through that. And it makes sense, right? Because the first year, nobody's got a lot of tape on you. They don't know. Then all summer, since you were such a stud, they spend all summer studying you. And the next year, you're not quite as good. And maybe your quarterback left, maybe your defensive coordinator left, maybe whatever happened, like there was a transition. And people know more about you and they've caught up some. And there you are. Well, now these 3 dudes coming in here, and do you want to take a transfer running back? Do you think we will?
It depends on if current running backs leave, and I don't rule that out. I mean, right now I would not. Right now, I absolutely would not. With one coming in and AK Deer, with the 5 that were returned for Alabama, I absolutely would not. But if Justice Haynes leaves, maybe. If Justice and Jam leave, almost definitely. But to me, it just depends on the stability in the room. I'm not interested in one if everyone's returning and then you're adding AK Deer. Hey, there's a pretty interesting, we haven't talked about this. I haven't talked about it even on the BOL board, but it's just in the back of my head, so I thought I'd mention it. Almost without notice, because he picked a bad time to do it, because this week all the news is about the portal. A 2026 running back from Auburn High School has reclassified to 2025.
Yeah.
Omar Mabson, I believe his
Yeah.
name is. This kid has a heck of an offer. He was gonna be a top 10 player in the 26 class in the state. And he has an Alabama offer. He has an Auburn offer. I believe he has a Georgia offer. He's got some national offers outside the SEC. I'm just saying, no one's talking about this now. It could be the kid went to Auburn High School. He could be reclassifying, and just now he's just going to go to school across the street at Auburn University, for all I know. I haven't heard Alabama's name associated with him outside of the fact he's walking around with an Alabama offer. But I just mentioned that because hardly anybody's talking about it. And I'm like, really, this is fairly big news. This kid, you know how we just got kind of spurned to some extent by Jace Clarizio?
Yeah.
This kid's better than Clarizio. I mean, this kid's more of a legitimate RB1, not a guy that you would take as a second running back. I mean, this guy's kind of the show. So now, for all I know, he's going to commit to Auburn 10 minutes from now, and this is all about Auburn University. I don't
Could
know.
be.
I don't know.
Could be. But I mean, there are some interesting transfer running backs out there. Ahmad
Yes.
Harvey from La Monroe. I know he's visiting Auburn this weekend. And then Fluff Bothwell, who we talked about, that I mean, I just love that kid. Now,
He's great.
will it translate from South Alabama to the SEC play? I don't know. But I'm just telling you again, and I know I got a soft spot for state of Alabama high school guys. I do. And even though I've said it's not that big of a deal that we got crushed in state this year by Auburn, which we did 100%. I'm just saying it's not that big of a deal when you end up with the number 2 class.
Yeah.
But having said that, when all things are remaining equal, I want the in-state guy. And I'm not so sure that Fluff Bothwell can't do this at this level. And I'm willing to take a shot if we lose somebody. You know, look, if I know for sure Jam, Justice, and Richard Young are all coming back with AK Deer and
Yeah.
you know, who else?
Daniel Hill, Kevin
Riley, uh,
Riley's good. Even Daniel Hill, I think, is going to be a really
Daniel
good,
Hill. If
probably
all
win
those
the
guys are going to be
situation.
here, okay, then let's not take one. I'm with you. But if even just one of those guys is leaving, I think it could be
I would
worthwhile.
Bothwell, in my opinion, is a premier SEC back. I mean, that's what I see when I watch him play. But it is tough to make that eval knowing he's doing it against Sun Belt players. But he's doing it against Sun Belt players at 18 years old as a true freshman. Yeah, I'm a bit, and I felt so bad for South. I watched that kid play for the first time. First time I saw him play, I'm like, I have never in my life seen a kid that is more destined to be in that transfer portal on December 9th. That kid is going right in the portal. He's going to run through the end zone into the tunnel outside Ladd Stadium and into or Hancock Whitney and into the transfer portal. Man, that would have been a funny joke if I didn't butcher it with that old Ladd
You
Stadium.
did. You screwed it up right there
South
at the
hadn't
end
played in Ladd
because it
Stadium.
made you sound smart too.
Yeah,
But
because I
boy,
can name
thinking of
both
that,
places. I can name both places South has played.
think about this. I mean, and since I'm in Alex City right now, Terrell Owens, who was a year younger than me through school. I mean, I went to oh God, it says we're running out of time. We got 9 minutes. I don't know how long we've been
That
doing
means
this.
we've been on 30 minutes.
Okay, we're about to quit. But he was a year younger than me in school. And by the way, I trust me when I say this, y'all. Terrell Owens was, I mean, he just wasn't that. He wasn't a dude until he. I think the story is pretty famous. Now I went to high school in Indian Springs, and he went to BRHS. But I think the old story goes that Chattanooga was here to look at a kid named Michael Allen, who was an unbelievable athlete at BRHS. And Terrell Owens made an unbelievable catch, and they were like, well, "Who's that dude?" And next thing you know, Terrell Owens goes to Chattanooga, and he just lives in the weight room because he was sort of homesick, I think. I mean, the story goes, and he couldn't get home all the time, and he just was a little bit shy. And next thing you know, he looks like a Greek god. But imagine Terrell Owens at UTC, because I remember he played Alabama and Auburn the same year, I think.
Hmm.
And everybody was like, what is he doing at UTC? Well, he was sort of a diamond in the rough. He would have been in the transfer portal and made a gazillion dollars right now.
That's right. Portal came along too late for a lot of guys like that. But no, Bothwell is a really good player. As far as Alabama, personally, I can't speak for Alabama. I would only be interested if I knew current running backs were leaving. Jam Miller could go to the NFL. Justice Haynes, there's a lot of transfer portal rumors out there. But one thing I want to point out to everybody that's have heard people that tell me, "Hey, so and so's going in the portal." Well, it's been open for 36 hours.
Yeah.
If you're going in the portal, here's some good advice. Don't wait around. I mean, your spots elsewhere are being taken, so
Get
don't
in
wait
there.
around. Get in. If you're leaving, get in.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow with our regular setup. I didn't like this at all. I hope y'all were okay with it. But until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.